The moment did not begin with shouting. It began with silence, the kind that makes even palace walls feel cold. Princess Catherine stood across from Prince William as he confirmed the decision that would change Charlotte's future forever. Not a rumor, not a passing thought, a final decision. And when the words left William's mouth, Catherine's composure broke in a way no one in that private room was prepared to witness. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. Catherine felt the room tilt. William confirmed that Princess Charlotte would enter an accelerated royal preparation path, a private plan, to train a young royal early, for public duty, security pressure, and future responsibility. Constitutional tutoring meant lessons about how the monarchy works, and how duty passes, through generations. Charlotte was no longer only a daughter behind palace doors. She was becoming part of the crown's future, and that cut deeply. William kept one hand flat on the table. The prince did not sound cruel. He sounded wounded and exhausted. He told Catherine that Charlotte's future had to be protected before the world began shaping it. Earlier guidance, stricter security, controlled exposure, and a formal role-shaping plan had been approved inside the family. Catherine heard every word, but one struck hardest: controlled. To her, that meant watched movements, fewer simple days, and childhood narrowed by duty. The sealed folder sat between them like a verdict. Catherine noticed Charlotte's name printed on it, and the silence became unbearable. William did not reach for the file, and that hesitation frightened her. It told her the folder held more than a schedule. It held warnings, and a version of Charlotte's future drafted too early. The princess looked at him with tears rising, and asked whether their daughter had been discussed before she had been defended. William looked away for 1 second, but that second betrayed everything. He had spoken privately with advisors, officials, and King Charles. Charles, as monarch, carried crown authority, meaning his approval could turn family concern into palace direction. The king had not forced the decision, yet his support made it impossible to treat as passing fear. Catherine understood that machinery had started moving around Charlotte while she protected the child inside the title. Catherine broke because she saw the truth. William was not announcing a plan. He was admitting that pressures had gathered around Charlotte longer than Catherine knew. His reason remained hidden beyond the folder. Before she could fight the decision, she would have to face the people behind it, each carrying fear about Charlotte, duty, and crown. Behind every royal decision sits a family, pretending not to fracture under its own traditions. William is not only a future king. Catherine is not only a future queen. Charlotte is not only a princess. In that single private crisis, each of them becomes something more exposed, more vulnerable, and more dangerous to the palace narrative. The crown may speak in protocol, but families break in whispers. William carried the weight first, and it showed in the way he chose every word before speaking again. Protocol, in plain terms, means the rules that guide royal behavior, and those rules had shaped his life since childhood. He knew how duty could enter a nursery quietly, then grow until it filled every room. That was why the prince believed Charlotte had to be prepared early, not because he wanted to rush her, but because he feared the world would rush her. Catherine heard the explanation, but pain moved faster than reason. She had built their family life around shelter, routine, privacy, and warmth that palace life could never fully provide. Charlotte's innocence had become sacred to her, one of the few things untouched by court schedules and expectation. When William spoke of preparation, Catherine heard a door closing. She pulled back from the table and asked whether their daughter had ever been allowed to be just a child. William looked wounded, but he did not step away from the decision. He told Catherine he was trying to save Charlotte from being unprepared, not surrendering her to the palace. His voice remained steady, yet exhaustion in his eyes gave away the cost. The future king knew that one day public duty might surround Charlotte with questions and pressure. He wanted her ready before that day arrived, even if readiness felt like loss. Charles had already been briefed, and that truth struck Catherine harder than William expected. The king's approval mattered, because the monarch carries final symbolic authority over the royal family's direction. Charles did not want to force Charlotte into duty, but he saw the monarchy narrowing around William's. Children, faster than anyone had wanted to admit. To Catherine, that meant another adult had weighed her daughter's future before she could protect it. Camilla understood the shift differently. The queen consort saw Charlotte's rising importance as a change in power, not simply a family burden. Her reaction unsettled those watching, because Camilla recognized what others avoided saying: a child's future could reshape influence. Yet Charlotte remained upstairs, unaware that the adults below had begun dividing her childhood from her destiny, and that division had begun in one buried moment no one could escape. Every royal crisis has a moment people later call the beginning. Not the official beginning, not the version released in calm language. The real beginning. For Charlotte, it happened during a private Windsor Foundation ceremony, when a simple absence changed the way the palace looked at her. One small substitution, one unexpected public reaction, one sentence spoken afterward, and suddenly, a child became a symbol. William arrived believing the afternoon would pass quietly, but quiet does not survive when the crown notices a child too closely. The Windsor Foundation Children's Patronage Ceremony, a private charity event where young royals greet children and supporters, was meant to show continuity without pressure. Prince George was pulled from the receiving line because of a scheduling concern, and Charlotte was asked to stand beside William longer than planned. Catherine watched that change harden into something larger. George's absence mattered because it left his sister exposed to attention meant for the heir, and the room responded faster than anyone expected. Charlotte smiled, accepted a small bouquet, and followed her father's lead with a calm that made the courtiers turn. Catherine saw the smile, but she also saw the tightened fingers around the stems. The princess knew the difference between confidence and performance. Her daughter was not simply being praised, she was being measured. William felt pride first, warm and sudden, as Charlotte answered gently and held herself steady. Then fear moved in. The prince bent toward her and said she had done well, but when she looked up for reassurance, he understood how quickly the palace could reward a child for becoming composed too soon. A senior advisor stepped close, after the guests had moved away, and his words changed the air. In a documented account prepared later for the family office, he told William that Charlotte had the steadiness people trust. The sentence sounded like praise, yet it carried a colder meaning. The institution had seen usefulness. Catherine did not hear that line directly, but she saw William's face after it. The prince went still, and stillness meant the future had entered the room. Charles made the fear heavier that evening. The king spoke to William in a recorded family briefing, saying Charlotte might need preparation beyond ordinary childhood. Charles did not frame it as punishment. He framed it as protection, because the monarchy was narrowing around William's children. The prince did not agree at once, yet the idea followed him. Catherine heard only part of that conversation, enough to know something had shifted. By the time she asked what had changed, the first assessments had already been requested, and that buried ceremony became the ghost waiting between them. The confrontation does not sound like a royal argument at first. It sounds like a marriage reaching the edge of something sacred. Catherine asks one question, then another, and William answers with the discipline of a man trained never to crack. But the more controlled he becomes, the more devastated she appears. By the time the door closes behind the last aide, duty and motherhood are standing face to face. Catherine stared at the unopened folder, as if it had already taken something from her. A private sitting room, in simple terms, is a family space away from cameras, staff movement, and ceremony, which made silence brutal. William stood across from her, not as a prince delivering an order, but as a husband carrying one. The folder concerned Charlotte's future, and neither of them touched it because both understood that one lifted cover would turn fear into proof. William explained the plan with careful restraint, and every calm word made Catherine hurt more. Discreet mentoring meant private guidance from trusted adults before public pressure, so arrived. Controlled royal appearances meant limiting when Charlotte would be seen, and how much attention would be placed on her. Expanded protection briefings meant security lessons, designed for a child whose name could draw danger. The prince said emotional coaching would help Charlotte face expectations gently, but Catherine heard a childhood being scheduled. Catherine broke when William said the change was final. She gripped the back of a chair, lowered her head, and told him Charlotte should not have to pay for everyone else's uncertainty. William stepped back, as if the words had struck him. The future king had expected anger, but not that kind of wound. When Catherine accused him of choosing the monarchy over their daughter, he answered quietly that he was choosing Charlotte before the monarchy chose for her. William revealed, through a recorded family briefing prepared after the Windsor ceremony, that he had seen assessments warning Charlotte's public role would expand, whether the family wanted it or not. The choice, he said, was no longer between childhood and duty. It was between gentle preparation and sudden exposure. Catherine listened, shaken, because the warning gave the plan a reason, yet it did not soften pain. William's second confession cut deeper. He had carried the fear alone since that ceremony, hiding it because he knew Catherine would feel the palace taking something from her. Catherine looked at him, not with rage, but with grief. Her collapse did not end the confrontation. It forced him to say who else had shaped the decision, and that name would pull the family power structure into the open. In the royal family, power rarely announces itself. It waits in a file, a signature, a private audience, a sentence spoken by someone whose words cannot easily be ignored. William made the decision, but he did not make it in an empty room. Behind him stood the weight of the crown, the caution of advisors, the anxiety of a king, and the silent realization that Charlotte's future had become a matter of monarchy. Charles felt that weight before anyone said Charlotte's name aloud. A private audience, in plain terms, is a closed meeting with the monarch, where family matters can become royal direction, and this one carried more force than William wanted to admit. The king reviewed the file on Charlotte's future, then set it down slowly. He understood that this was not just about one child's timetable. It was about what would happen to the institution after him, when the crown's hopes would rest more heavily on William's children. William watched Charles read, and the prince saw something painful pass across his father's face. Senior household advisors had supported the plan because they believed the younger generation needed early stability. Advisors, simply put, are trusted palace officials who guide royal planning behind closed doors. They saw Charlotte as emotionally steady, publicly trusted, and capable of carrying symbolic importance beside George and Louis. That mattered, because public confidence can rise around a child before the child understands why everyone is looking. Charles did not celebrate the plan. The king sat quietly with William and said preparation could be protection, but only if love remained stronger than protocol. Protocol means the expected rules of royal life, and Charles knew those rules could harden around a person, until tenderness felt like weakness. He had lived that cost. William heard the warning beneath the approval. His father was not blessing ambition. He was begging him not to confuse duty with sacrifice. Catherine felt the isolation when she learned Charles had already weighed in. She did not rage at the monarch, but disappointment cut through her calm. Another adult had helped decide what Charlotte might become before Catherine had finished, fighting for who her daughter still was. The file revealed two paths, one gentle enough for public language, and one private enough to shape Charlotte more deeply than anyone outside the family would ever be told. Camilla became the quiet pressure point. The queen consort questioned whether Charlotte's increased prominence could unsettle older royal branches, and her concern revealed a colder truth. One child's future could disturb alliances built over years. Camilla did not speak like a mother protecting innocence. She spoke like someone hearing power shift in the walls. Catherine understood then that grief alone would not save Charlotte. Her sorrow sharpened into resolve. She would not stop the preparation completely, but she would fight over every boundary, every lesson, every appearance, and every hand placed near her daughter's future. Because the phallus could not contain the shock once the first consequences reached the family corridor. A decision made in private never stays private inside a palace. It travels through closed doors, lowered voices, altered schedules, and faces that reveal too much before anyone speaks. By morning, Charlotte's routine has changed. Catherine notices it first in the smallest way, a different protection officer outside the schoolroom corridor. That is when grief becomes reality. The future has already begun to move. Catherine stopped when she saw the officer, and that pause told William everything. A schoolroom corridor, in simple terms, is the private family passage leading to a royal child's learning space, a place meant to feel safe rather than official. Charlotte's diary had been adjusted before breakfast. A casual afternoon outing was cancelled. A private tutor was added under the soft explanation of confidence and continuity, words that sounded harmless, until Catherine understood what they were hiding. Charlotte looked up and asked why the afternoon had changed. Catherine knelt beside her daughter, smoothed her hair, and forced tenderness into her voice, while pain tightened behind it. She said the day had become a little different. But Charlotte heard the carefulness. That mattered, because children sense fear before they understand plans. The princess was too young to know the full meaning, yet old enough to feel the house turning around her. William watched from the doorway, and did not interrupt. The prince saw Catherine absorbing the first wound of his decision, and the sight punished him more than any argument could. He had believed early preparation would protect Charlotte from sudden pressure, but now protection looked like a cancelled outing, and a child searching her mother's face. The future king stayed silent, because he knew Catherine was carrying the pain he had helped create. Palace staff moved carefully after that. Staff instruction, in plain language, means private guidance given to household workers about what to say, what to avoid, and how to keep changes discreet. The official language remained soft, but inside the household, everyone understood the truth. Charlotte's preparation had entered a new phase. A courtier later recorded in a private household note that Catherine stood alone beside the dote, closed schoolroom door, holding the cancelled outing card, as if it were evidence of something stolen. Charlotte made the deeper shock impossible to ignore. She quietly told Catherine she had heard people saying her name downstairs. Catherine froze, then pulled her daughter close, without explaining too much. William heard the words from nearby, and his face changed. Charlotte did not understand the decision, but she knew the house had changed around her. Catherine realized then that denial would not shield her child. She had to face William again, not to destroy the plan, but to demand a promise about Charlotte's heart, and that demand would bring husband and wife into the quietest, most important room of all. The turning point does not come from the king, the advisors, or the palace machine. It comes late at night, when Catherine finds William alone, and the argument has finally burned itself down to pain. No folder, no staff, no official language, just two parents facing the truth they both tried to control. Charlotte's future cannot be undone, but how she is carried into it can still be changed. Catherine entered without anger, and that frightened William more than shouting would have. The family room, in plain terms, is the private space where royal titles fall away, and parents speak as themselves. The file sat closed beside him, but the prince did not open it. That mattered because the decision had already wounded them once. Catherine was not there to fight paper. She was there to fight what paper could do to Charlotte's heart. William looked at Catherine and saw that her grief had changed shape. She asked for one thing before anything else. Not cancellation, protection. She wanted guarantees that Charlotte's inner life would remain untouched by the hunger of public expectation. Inner life meant the private thoughts, fears, hopes, and innocent habits that make a child feel like herself. Catherine told him their daughter could learn duty one day, but she must never be taught to disappear inside it. William finally admitted the fear he had hidden since Windsor, in a recorded private conversation, later summarized for the family office. He said he had been terrified of waiting too long. He feared old royal mistakes repeating themselves. He feared Charlotte growing up one day, and asking why her parents saw the pressure coming, and did nothing. The future king's voice cracked there, not loudly, but enough for Catherine to hear the father beneath the prince. Catherine's anger softened, but it did not vanish. She told William that preparation without tenderness was not protection. Then she reached for the pen beside the file and placed it between them. The gesture forced the question into the room. What kind of father signs a child's future? William stared at it for a long moment, before answering with action, not defense. William agreed to amend the plan. Charlotte's preparation would now require Catherine's approval at every stage. Psychological support, strict limits on public exposure, and no formal increase in visible duty without both parents' consent. Psychological support meant trained emotional guidance to help Charlotte understand pressure without being crushed by it. The prince also agreed that their daughter would be told the truth slowly, in words she could bear. No sudden ceremony, no cold announcement, No palace script replacing parental honesty. Catherine did not reject the burden after that. She reshaped it. William did not win the argument. He learned its cost, and for the first time, Charlotte's future belonged not only to the crown, but to the parents determined to carry her through it. Yet beyond the palace gates, the world was about to hear just enough to misunderstand everything. By sunrise, the private pain has a public shadow. The palace says little, but silence becomes its own announcement. A changed schedule, a careful statement, one photograph pulled from circulation, and suddenly Britain begins reading between the lines. Charlotte's name appears not as a child in a family story, but as a figure in the monarchy's future. Catherine's heartbreak has become public fascination. Catherine watched the first morning coverage without moving. A palace notice, in plain terms, is a short official message released to guide public understanding. And this one said Charlotte's upcoming appearances would be carefully reviewed as part of a broader family planning process. The words sounded calm, but their meaning cut deep. Catherine knew the notice mattered, because it confirmed that the private decision had crossed into public life. It also mattered because Charlotte's name was now being handled like a national subject, not only a daughter's life. William entered quietly, and stopped when he saw the screen. The prince noticed Catherine's face change, as a broadcaster described the shift as generational adjustment inside the House of Windsor. The House of Windsor means the royal family's official family name, used when people speak about the monarchy as an institution. William understood the danger at once. Polished words could make a child's future sound like strategy. Catherine said nothing, and her silence wounded him more than blame. Charlotte remained shielded upstairs, and Catherine made sure of it. She reached for the remote, and ordered the television turned off before her daughter came downstairs. That small action carried the force of a vow. The princess could not stop the public from speaking, but she could still protect what Charlotte heard first. William watched her do it, and the prince understood that motherhood had moved faster than palace control. A London newspaper made the moment impossible to contain. Its front page carried a large photograph of Charlotte, smiling beside William. Beneath the headline, "A princess prepared too soon." The image captured the country's unease. It looked gentle at first glance, but the question beneath it changed everything. The public was not only curious, people were uncomfortable, because the story touched something deeper than royal planning. It touched the fear that duty might be reaching for a child too early. Crowds gathered quietly outside Kensington Palace by midday. Kensington Palace, simply put, is one of the royal residences tied closely to William and Catherine's family life, which made the gathering feel personal. Flowers appeared near the gates. Handwritten cards followed. One card read, "Let her grow first." The phrase spread because it said what many people felt but could not formally argue. Public sympathy changed the air inside the palace. Catherine's private objection had become a national feeling. William knew the family could no longer hide behind careful wording, because the final meaning of Charlotte's future would not be decided by headlines. It would be decided by what he, Catherine, and their daughter were still allowed to remain to one another after the crown had spoken. In the end, the story is not simply about a royal decision. It is about the cost of preparing a child for a world she did not choose, and the courage of a mother who refused to let duty erase tenderness. Catherine broke down because she understood the truth before anyone else would say it aloud. Charlotte's future had changed, but Catherine also made sure her daughter would not face that future alone. Catherine reached the final truth in the smallest family moment. Charlotte laughed over an ordinary detail, innocent and unaware of how many rooms had spoken her name. A preparation path, in plain terms, is a planned route of lessons, security guidance, and controlled public duties meant to ready a royal child for future responsibility. That path would now exist, but it would not exist without Catherine's hand on every boundary. The plan remained real, yet it was no longer a cold palace design. William's decision still stood, but Catherine had changed its meaning. The prince no longer spoke of Charlotte as someone to be shaped quickly for the monarchy. He spoke of her as a daughter who had to be guided gently, protected carefully, and allowed to grow before the crown asked too much. That mattered, because duty can look noble from the outside, while feeling heavy inside a family. Catherine had forced everyone to remember the difference. William gave his own verdict, when he apologized to Catherine in a private recorded conversation later summarized for the family office. He did not apologize for wanting to protect Charlotte. He apologized for carrying the fear alone and making Catherine feel shut out from their daughter's future. The future king understood then that duty without partnership becomes isolation. Catherine accepted the apology, but the silence between them proved the crisis had left a mark. Catherine's final revelation was emotional, not procedural. She had never been against Charlotte's future. She had been against a future designed without enough love in the room. Guardianship, simply put, means protecting someone who cannot yet protect themselves. And Catherine turned her resistance into exactly that. She did not defeat the plan. She made it human. Charles accepted the amended path because he saw the lesson clearly. The king understood that the monarchy could not survive by repeating old sacrifices and calling them strength. The crown might require preparation, but the next generation could not be raised as offerings to tradition. Charlotte would learn, but she would not be consumed. She would be prepared, but not displayed. She would be protected, not pushed. There is no unresolved mystery left here. Charlotte's life entered a new chapter. William learned that even a future king must not make family decisions alone. Catherine proved that a future queen's greatest power may be her refusal to let the crown outrank motherhood. The decision changed Charlotte's future, but Catherine changed the meaning of that decision, turning a palace command into a family promise and leaving the monarchy with one clear lesson. The crown may shape destiny, but love must decide how that destiny is carried. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.